Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
I couldn't agree with you more. So for those of you guys that are just joining us online, welcome in. We're getting into the part 2 of tonight's show. We're still live over here on Clapper. Welcome in, Shelby. We just saw Shelby pop in. I want to give a shout out to everybody that's in here real quick before we keep moving on. Mag, Stacks76, Jelly, Shelby, Karen. Obviously, Jake is in here with us. Rifle, Catherine, Ms. Pizza Hut, welcome in. Princess Ormond, Lajaya, Mrs. Patterson, Curtis, Lorena, Bobby, and Steven. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Sorry, I'm very horrible with some of these online names. Sorry, guys. And the next part I wanted to get into with this is, and this is something that gets pulled every year, and I know we're going to hit a lot of hot buttons with this. Oh, you're good, Shelby. I know people are going to get mad. I know they're going to get pissed off, but it's something that needs to be addressed because it's first thing we need to cover is the LGBTQ. Okay. They pushed that during the elections. Someone's rights have been violated. And I think that this year or this next election that we have coming up in a year and a half, it's going to be the transgenderism because they're pushing on that. They're playing on that so hard right now. They are wanting to normalize this to everybody. That way, when a transgender person's rights gets violated, it becomes a civil rights case, and this is huge, and we can't have that. And let this presidential person come in to solve these transgender civil rights violation issues. Jake, thoughts on that?
It's the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Listen, if I decide to identify as a freaking potato chip, and if you don't respect me as a potato chip, that could be a civil rights violation.
Why?
Because I said so, because that's how I feel. You have to accept me, Jake. You have to.
I don't care how you feel.
You have to accept this.
I don't care if you feel like a potato chip, but you're not going to make me say it, man.
You're not going to make me say, hello, Mr. Potato Chip?
I might say it for fun, but if you're going to force me to do it, I'm not going to do it.
So, okay. I came across some videos online today that really made me start thinking about this and want to bring it up in here this evening because they are normalizing this way too much. And it came with, have you heard about transableism?
Yes.
Okay. So for those of you guys that don't know, transableism is able-bodied people that are totally fine and that are going out and injuring themselves to have a disability because they felt like they had the disability beforehand, right? And they want to be treated like the disabled. So a good example of this is if a guy feels like he can't walk, he'll go and he'll cut his feet off, right? Something to that effect. Or if somebody feels like they need to identify as a blind person, they'll try to blind themselves. It's basically what we're seeing with this, okay? So this is, to me, this is going down this, like, weird road because self-mutilation, it comes with mental disability, right? So how is it's hard to even keep a straight face while talking about this stuff, but you know where I'm going with this, right? That
I do.
Right. So, and what kills me about this is you have a lot of people out there that suffer serious accidents that end up, being paralyzed or end up with some sort of horrible disability, right? A guy might be working in a factory and have something fall on him and break his back, and now he's wheelchair bound forever. Or another guy might be in a factory and get hot chemicals poured in his eyes, and he's now blinded forever, right? So and people are going out there and inflicting this self-harm to be able to identify as, disabled. I don't understand the logic in this. I can't wrap my mind around it. But if they're supporting this means this has no end. There's no end in sight for this. And they are amping this up for what? And the best guess I have is for the election that we're going to see a year and a half from now, they want more to throw on. They want more gas to throw on the fire for separation. You're intolerable if you are not being sympathetic to a trans-abled person's needs.
So?
I'm just saying, we need to be sympathetic. Make sure you reserve their handicapped parking space. Make sure they have what they need. Make sure they go first on the roller coasters because they're trans-abled.
Are you looking for something kick-ass to add to your closet? Reaper has the hookup for t-shirts, hoodies, button-ups, hats, beanies, and plenty of other badass products. You can check out Reaper Apparel Company at www.reaperapparelco.com and use code DOOM10 for 10% off. Jester only stands behind brands he believes in, and Dan at Reaper Apparel has a mission, and Jester is on board. Go check out www.reaperapparelco.com today and use code DOOM10 for 10% off your entire order. Why be a sheep when you can reap? Use code DOOM10 for 10% off at www.reaperapparelco.com today.
Well, that's unfortunately up to the businesses in litigation and not up to me, which I'm glad it's not. But it's a very thin line we walk when we start to cater to things like mental health issues. But I mean, my question is, where do we draw the line with mental health issues? When did we start catering to the mentally ill as opposed to helping the mentally ill? And when did we start putting feelings ahead of facts? And when did we ever think that would be a good idea? Because that's a terrible idea. It's like you said, you could feel like a potato chip. I don't even know how you would operate in society as a potato chip. What would you do?
You'd have to carry me around, Jake, in a foil-lined bag. Okay?
I'm not doing it.
And you can't drop me because I'll get crushed and cracked, and then I won't be a good potato chip anymore.
Well, as an adult, whatever you decide to do in your own home, if you want to lay around and pretend you're a potato chip in your own house, absolutely. Go right ahead, dude. If you want to play dress up and do all that stuff, and even if you want to be brazen enough to walk around in public, you certainly can. And that's fine. I don't care. I truly do not care. The only thing that I really care about is that if it's shoved down my throat and I forcibly have to accept and cater to mental illness, which I won't do, because that's not doing what we need to do for people who are truly mentally ill. Now, I'm not saying that that's everybody. I'm saying these are people with true mental illness. Treating the issue and not catering to the issue is probably going to be the thing that solves the problem. And why we're not doing that and why we're catering that and allowing it to exist to inflame it, I don't understand. I will never understand that. I don't know what the agenda behind that is. I hope that down the road it has nothing to do with kids. I hope. That's my great fear with this, is how far does it have to go? And usually with us, it's pretty far. They took so far 3 years from our economic development away, and so far everybody seems to generally be okay with it. They said wear masks, and we did. There's a select few who did not, but the vast majority did. and that sucks.
So I'm looking here in the chat, and Karen says I had to put up a boundary up on my friend because of her disability. I wasn't going to be her driver. Makes sense, Karen. And Jelly, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you guys have the drag story time happening? I don't know what Jelly's talking about.
Places like elementary schools and libraries will bring in drag.
Yeah,
to read to kids.
God, I've seen that shit. What the hell's wrong with people?
That is people trying their best not to get sued.
Okay, so I think that as a whole, they're trying to create a transphobic population to further divide and separate, right? So I think
a deep fear of trans people. Why is it transphobia?
Well, because that's what they would call it.
Well, that's a crippling fear of something as a phobia.
Right. Damn, dude. What's going on over there?
When I see a trans person, I'm not crippled or riddled with fear.
No, me either. I mean, maybe if they're coming at me in the dark with a machete, then yeah, I'm going to be in a little bit of fear.
Well, that would be anybody with machete. Yeah, I'd be afraid. But I never really understood that whole putting phobia behind a word, because I don't think, for the general populace, I don't think anybody has a deep, life-threatening, crippling fear of something or someone else. And I don't understand that.
So this is, I want to go do Cloud's comment real quick. So Cloud works for the DMV and says, I don't know what to call them when they come into the DMV. And that usually is a big thing we see floating around online all the time, is somebody really pissed off because they're inappropriately identified. And I think that comes with the territory that I don't want to beat this transgender thing too much harder, but I just want everybody to know they are pushing really hard for normalization of this. Okay. Extremely hard, way too hard. This should not be happening. And the only reason I think that this is going on is so they have another category of separation, saying, look how tolerant the left is, look how intolerable the right is, because they're not accepting this. And I think all this bullshit we just seen with Anheuser-Busch is a testament to that, right? Bud Light knew its target audience, okay? They knew what it was. They knew that these were the good old boys that were drinking this. The hillbillies were the ones buying the Budweiser. They knew that Anheuser-Busch's main demographic of sales were right-wing people and were Second Amendment supporters.
Do you have enough food in your pantry for when disaster strikes? Go to www.readywise.com and utilize code DOOM10 for 10% off your entire food order. ReadyWise offers long-term food storage items such as chicken and beef that last up to 15 years. But that's not all. Go to www.readywise.com and use our code DOOM10 for 10% off of organic food as well. Offering chili, pasta, and soups, they have you covered. Did we mention they have fruits? Bananas, blueberries, strawberries, and apples, just to name a few. With many more food options for your home, car, or bug-out bag, ReadyWise has your six. Go to www.readywise.com now and utilize code DOOM10 for 10% off.
And they blew that out of the water, and now they have records to show these people are, if you're extremely intolerable because you didn't buy our beer, this shows us who you are as people.
Great.
Excuse me.
You okay?
Yeah, I don't know if I choked on my own spit or I'm just talking too much tonight. It could be a little bit of both.
Well, regardless, whether you're currently dying or not, part of the societal issue, Jester, is that people are trying to be too tolerant of everybody all the time. And as a matter of fact, I think it's probably a little bit better to be a little less tolerant of anyone in general, not just any group. But we shouldn't be forced to cater to every single person on the planet and their needs and their wants. What of my wants and my needs and my requirements? You know, if any person can walk around and decide that they're going to be called ma'am instead of sir, or Z's, or whatever you want, when there are limits here. And as a society, you have to set those and draw those lines. Because I always go back to this reference that in public, you have what's called a reasonable expectation of safety. So if you're walking around your city center where you've got all of your small shops and your farmer's market and all this stuff, and you're in public, you're in a public area where the public is in town, you have a reasonable expectation of safety. So reasonably, one can expect not to get robbed or stabbed or shot or something like that. These are the general common sense understandings of reasonable expectation. You know, you're not going to walk down the street and expect to get punched in the face. That is a reasonable expectation of safety, but it is not a definite. It doesn't make it a definite thing, because you very well could be walking down the street and somebody could be running up on you and say, hey, and you turn around and you get blasted. That could potentially happen. It is really rare, but it happens. We see it all the time. But what happens in public is a balancing act. What you do in the privacy and the comfort of your own home, you do whatever you want to do. You do whatever you want to do behind closed doors. I do not care. And nobody else should care. You shouldn't be riling people up for what they decide to do in the privacy of their own homes. Now, that doesn't set it aside for what happens in public. So if you're a man and you want to dress up in they call them, you should look it up, they call them sissy girls, where human adult males will dress up in like basically doll style Victorian looking little clothes and pretend that they're babies and talk like babies and have pacifiers and all these things.
Yeah, I decided I don't want to look that up.
Okay. Regardless, if you want to do that in the privacy and the comfort of your own home, do it. I don't care. Show up to your job and do what's required of you for your job, get your paycheck, go home, and you want to unwind by doing that, go for it. But when you walk into a public space, into a public area, you have a reasonable expectation of safety. Now, getting made fun of for what you do by taking it public is nobody's fault but your own. And you can say all you want that this is who I am, or this is how I identify, blah, 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 and I want the world to know. You already know how the world is going to receive it. And typically, people are kind of baseline. Anything that stands out above the baseline is going to get paid attention to. And if it's something that's generally obscene, you're going to probably be made fun of. So if we see an adult human male in his 50s or 60s walking around with a pacifier in their mouth and a dress and wearing a diaper, yeah, you're probably going to get made fun of. In some places, probably worse. But this is your reasonable expectation of doing something outside of the perceivable norm in public. I don't see any harm in that. Mental health or not, wrecks your mental health or not, if it affects your mental health, that really sucks. And you should talk to somebody about that for sure. But if it's that big of an issue, do it 100% in the privacy and comfort of your own home. Get your friends together, have house parties, that sort of thing. But don't expect people to cave to your whims just because you feel upset.
Fire is one of the most basic essentials for survival. Whether you're camping, hiking, or preparing for disaster, Blackbeard has your six. Go to www.blackbeardfire.com and utilize code DOOMSDAY for 10% off your entire purchase. Blackbeard offers stormproof matches, plasma arc lighters, fire starters, and ferro rods, all of which are great for your bug out bag. Once again, Go to www.blackbeardfire.com and utilize code DOOMSDAY for 10% off your entire purchase.
Right. No, I 100% get what you're saying. And again, the reason I brought this up was because I just think that this is going to be one more power play that they have this next election season. I think it's going to be a big thing that's going to be thrusted in our faces, right? And I honestly think that this, and something that we see every freaking year, and oh God. So we only got about 12 minutes left, so I wanted to bring this up at the end because I didn't want to spend too much time on this. But again, this is going to be a hot button issue for people. The racial card gets pulled every single election cycle. There doesn't even have to be something tragic that happens within the media. There doesn't have to be. This is something that is always brought up and is always played on every single year. I honestly think that the transisms are going to replace the race card here at some point, but I think we still got many years away before that actually happens. So do understand that this is something that's coming with this next cycle. I see that being a thing, especially if you get a white man that's running for the Republican Party. They will throw race at that man till he cannot breathe anymore. Right?
What if he identifies as a black man?
Well, actually, that's a thing now that they're having. Transracialism is now something that's also a thing, which is why I'm saying you can't. Okay, and this is where I'm going with this. If you're living in a society where you can have transracialism, you cannot live in a society that can be racist at the same time. Because if you get a white guy up there and you say, oh, he's white, he's a white man, he's racist, blah, 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 and then he goes up and says, well, I'm transracial, I identify as a black man. Kind of takes away your point, doesn't it?
Kind of does.
Just saying, man, just saying. And something really interesting that I think we're going to see this, and it just made it pop in my mind. Again, don't want to spend too much time on the racial thing. We know that's happening. And what's crazy, actually, one more thing I want to say on this. I saw something the other day that made me sick. All right? Like physically had me pissed off and upset. And it was a picture that was floating around with a picture of, it was a picture of a bus with all the black people on the back of the bus, and the caption in the photo was, the Republicans want to move us back to the back of the bus. That's what this said. And if that's not such a triggering thing to incite hate, to incite separation, to incite divide, I don't know what is, right? Because that's all that's designed to do. Mag says, I saw that. So, yeah, that's floating around out there, and we're going to see these things coming. Hey, Cloud, thank you for the beers. Welcome in, Ducky, as well. So, I don't know. I know you haven't been spending as much time, like, in the social media world, but have you been seeing stuff like that floating around? I'm just curious.
I mean, even though my face isn't on any videos, I spend just as much time. Nothing about it has changed. I just talk less. Because I clearly wasn't, my services weren't needed, so I talk less. But yeah, I see it all the time.
Right.
I see umpteen videos of people beating other people up in the streets all the time just because they're a certain color.
Right.
And it's absolutely stupid. I just watched a video, as a matter of fact, last night of a certain group of people just attacking anybody who had a skin color and complexion like mine or yours, just because of that one thing. And they said, hey, that person there is that color, let's go get him. And 10 or 15 people just started punching and kicking him.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's
no,
very stupid, very ignorant. Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just wanted to throw it out there that we are going to be seeing more of this the closer we roll around into the next election season. And then there was one final thing I did want to bring up, and so keep in mind we got about 7 minutes left here. But the AI play on this election season. Karen, thank you for the beer, by the way. I think I saw that come in. Yeah, I did. Yeah, so what do you think of that, Jake? The idea that AI is going to play huge factors with the election, because I know we're doing target-specific advertising utilizing AI right now. That's happening, right? Imagine when they have targets, and they may have done this in the last election, I don't know. But when they have target-specific rhetoric going out there with AI to sway your vote, okay? Imagine when that becomes a thing, to where if you're on the left and you're anti-gun, all you see is anti-gun content, all the shootings, another person shot, killed here, another police brutality thing here, and that just clogs up your feed and motivates you to go to the voting poll, right? Or vice versa. If you're on the right, you're going to get stuff that's continuously coming into your inbox saying the Second Amendment's under attack, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's going to go a lot further than that with the new power that AI has and how easy it is for people to access and change things.
Get your tickets to PrepStock before they're gone. Go to prepstock.ticketleap.com today. Being held in beautiful Townsend, Tennessee, this community-focused survival event is taking place October 6th through the 9th. Explore the world of homesteading and survival. Escape the sheeple and find your people at PrepStock. For more detailed information, go to prepstock.ticketleap.com and buy your tickets now. Want to increase your chances of survival? Learn new survival skills such as herbal remedies, beekeeping, pressure canning, and much more. For a sense of security and protection in uncertain times, buy your tickets today at prepstock.ticketleap.com. Tickets to this event are limited and will be gone soon. Don't miss out on this Doom-tastic time. Buy your tickets now at prepstock.ticketleap.com. Bug out to PrepStock this October.
A smart man is able to hold a conversation with just about anyone until they're told that they're wrong, and then they're met with emotions. A wise man is willing to listen to both perspectives. Algorithms are smart, but they are not wise. This was the very thing that many people, myself, I'm not putting us in the same group by any means, but Elon Musk also warned about the dangers of AI. I've talked about it plenty of times. Algorithms are cool for grouping people together, but algorithms are bad for grouping people together because they create an echo chamber. Just like you said, if you tend to lean toward watching videos like on your TikTok feed about food, you're going to be fed more videos about chefs and different food things, which you may like, but that's going to generally be the only thing that you eventually see. And the algorithm isn't good for that because it echo chambers you. The truly wise person is not incapable of knowing when they're wrong, admitting when they're wrong, and listening to alternative perspectives. There's wisdom in that. It's part of being an adult. It's part of being somebody who can hold a conversation with anybody. And it's part of being a human being, is learning to understand perspectives of the culture and society around you that dictates your world. And if you stick yourself into just one of those little echo chambers, the rest of the world is going to seem very scary and very wrong if that's all you ever see. And this is what the algorithms do to you. And this is partly why we have such a large divide between right and left, is because they're echo chambers anymore. I see the right and the left eventually being the complete polar opposites of what will eventually come after it. They'll make it ultra MAGA right, and they'll make it ultra Democrat left, and something from both of those sides will splinter out and become something else that's lesser of the two, just primarily based on things like AI and plugging algorithms over and over and over again. People will figure out that they don't want to be categorized. And I think eventually, once people start to wise up a little bit, they'll realize that echo chambers aren't a good thing, and their perspective may or may not be always correct.
Want to be a guest on the show? Email itsdoomsdaypodcast@gmail.com. That's itsdoomsdaypodcast@gmail.com.
Right. Okay. I understand. And no, I understand what you're saying about the echo chamber thing too, because that's what my feed was all last election season, was this echo chamber shit. Right.
I turned it off. Yeah.
Welcome in, B-Man. So Jake, we've got a few minutes left here, and it's been me just plugging away what I think is going to happen with this upcoming election. What do you think? What's on Jake's mind of what's going to happen?
If we don't buy ourselves into World War III, which very well may happen, if that happens, I'm not sure if we'll have an election at all. That's always the elections aren't always a definite. It's not just because it's happened without a hitch almost all the time. They can suspend those elections, can be suspended, so that's always a potential thing to happen. If things really got bad enough, they would suspend the election and Biden would remain president. Some people would love it. Some people would hate it. But we tend to see this flip-flop of things from right to left and nothing in between. There's always independents and everybody in between. They never get any airtime because that's not the narrative that they want to push. But I think, and I hope, I have hope for people because I'm an optimist, and my one shining hope is that people will turn the light bulb on and start to think for themselves instead of consuming everything they're told to consume. I don't know if you're too worried about going over a few minutes. I'm really not.
Oh, we still got a couple more minutes here.
Okay. I'll shorten it. As a matter of fact, I had an argument with somebody that today, as a matter of fact, over a Twitter post that I didn't expect to want to argue, but the person did. One of my friends shared a music video of a rapper. It was truly a terrible song. The lyrics weren't good. The music itself wasn't good. But unfortunately, it was a black rapper with like 5 or 6 girls behind him. They were in a pool. They were all in just thong bikinis, and the only talent that the women had was just shaking their ass all over the place. And one of my friends asked why this is perceived as cool or good, and I answered her and I said, because society is told to think that it is, because it dumbs them down and turns them into morons who don't question anything or the world around them. Otherwise, they would look at that and say, wow, that sounds like shit, because it did. So one guy took offense to that, and then he claimed I was making microaggressions and claimed I was racist because the guy just happened to be black and be a rapper. Especially in 2023, when there's plenty of white rappers out there too, I would say this exact same thing about, because anybody who knows me knows I'm not racist. Jester Daddy, am I racist or what?
Oh, no, extremely.
Yeah. So he took offense to it and tried to just flip it and got really upset by that. And he said, this is the same thing you people do all the time, and you can't argue with me because I'm an intellectual, and you guys have been attacking us for this for years, and blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, Mr. Smarty Pants, if you're an intellectual, then look at what I said. I didn't say black people. I said society. And I even put society in quotes to label it as perceived society. Yes, I have at least one black friend, maybe 2. No, I'm lucky, man. I have friends all over the world, as a matter of fact. Pretty much every race, every color, every creed.
You just did an all-black TV show.
Did I? What'd I do?
You're the only white guy.
I'm the token white guy?
Yeah, you're the token white guy.
Yeah. I get to live in the movie.
Oh my God. All right. Okay. I think we're done here. So anyway, yeah, guys, these are the things I wanted to warn everybody about that are potentially coming over the next year and a half before the next election. Jake, anything else you want to throw in there before we get out of here?
I've talked enough. I miss you guys.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.